Hey guys, welcome back to the Wednesday night sewing class. Today we're going to be reading a story about a lady named Lydia, which is in the book Acts 16:13 through 15. Paul and his buddies, Timothy and Silas, were in the middle of a major mission trip. They had already visited lots of different places looking for people who had never heard of Jesus, so they could tell them all about him. God's Spirit led them to the city of Philippi, one of the biggest cities in Macedonia. They had stayed there for several days. When it came time for the Sabbath, the Jewish day of the worship held each week, Paul decided to head to the river just outside the gates of town, hoping to find a special place for prayer. There, he and his friends found a group of women already gathered. One of them was a special woman named Lydia, a businesswoman. She was known for the expensive purple cloth she sold. From what I understand, only really wealthy people could afford her kind of fabric, so she probably knew a lot of interesting people. But the most important person Lydia knew was God. Even though she didn't know about Jesus, she had heard about God and worshipped him as best as she could. The ladies agreed to let Paul speak to their group, and while Lydia was listening to the gospel, God changed her heart and allowed her to believe what Paul was saying. Lydia was so excited to finally know the part about God's story she had always been missing. She immediately went home and told her family, and before you know it, she asked Paul to baptize her and her entire family, who also believed. Because she was thankful for Paul and his ministry, Lydia invited the men to stay in her home while they were preaching in the city. Even after they escaped from prison a little while later, they went straight back to Lydia's place, where they knew they'd always be welcome because of what God had done for her heart. Okay, so for today's activity, we're going to be making button bracelets. You're going to need buttons. Next, you'll need scissors, yarn or string. We'll be using a tiny sewing needle, and lastly, some fabric. I'm going to take my fabric and make sure that it goes around my wrist because I'm going to use this to make a bracelet. Now I'm going to take this little piece of fabric right here and cut it to do my bracelet. So this is going to be my bracelet, and we're going to sew buttons on top of it. So we are all done with our fabric. Now we're going to need to pick out some buttons to sew on top of our button bracelet. After you've gotten some buttons picked, you're going to need to pick out a string. I picked out purple today. I'm going to tie a knot in it. First button, and I'm ready to go. I'm going to go through the back, and you need to find a hole. So I found a hole to stick it through, and I'm going to pull my string through the button, and then I'm going to go through another hole on the top, pull it through the bottom. So now I'll show you once I get it in. So I went through the back and then over the top, and now there's like a string going over the button. Our string is coming up from the back, so we're going to want to find another hole through the back and poke it through, and it's going to come out the top of the button like that. I'm going to pull the string out of the button all the way through, and like so. I pulled it all the way through. Now I'm going to go back across on this side and then pull my string all the way through like that. And now it's making a little X shape on the button, and it's ready to tie off, and then we can move on to the next button. Now we're going to take the two strings in the back and we're going to tie them together so that our button doesn't come off. And once it is tied together, you can cut the remaining string off. And now your button is on there, and we're just going to keep putting buttons down our bracelet. Out my next button, it's a blue one, and I'm going to place it where I want it. Then I'm going to take my string and make my knot again. So I'm going to tie a couple knots so it's big enough to not go through. So now I'm going to take my string, flip my bracelet to the back, find the hole where the button is. I found a hole. Whoa! And then you gotta pull your string through. Oh. All the way through. Now this one doesn't have 4 holes on the button, it only has 2. So we're just gonna have to cross over once. And then poke it back through that way. And then go like this. And then you just tie it on the back. And then once you have it tied, you cut the extra string off. And there you go. You have your second button. Now we're going to go on to button number 3. For my next one, I'm going to use this pinkish color. And then we gotta make our knot again so it doesn't come out behind the button. Okay. Then I'm going to take my needle and then you flip it to the back and then you look for a hole. Oop, I found one right there, and then you pull your needle through all the way through. So this one has 4 holes, so we're going to go straight across right here. And then pull your needle through. And then you have one line going across, and then you're going to go through the back and feel for a hole. And then you find your hole and you pull it through. Then you go straight across on the hole that it hasn't gone through yet. And then you pull it all the way through the button. And then you have that X shape again. And then you're going to tie these together, and then you'll be done with your third button. And you have your third button on, and we're just going to keep going until we get to the end with our sewing the buttons on our bracelet. We're going to tie our last knot to the string because we have finished our bracelet. I'm going to take the side with the buttons and fold it over this way to where the ends are both together. And then here at the end, see they're folded this way, so it's like the back is showing. We're going to sew up this. I'm just going to do it a bunch of times. I'm going to sew it up. We're going around, so we're going in this way. And then it comes out the other side and you pull it, and then it loops around the edge. And then you go back, poke it through one side, out the other. finish sewing the edge, we're going to cut off. Then we're going to flip it this way, and then it should look like that. The sewed part is on the inside. Now you can slip it over your hand, and now you can wear your button bracelet. Look how cool that is. I love this bracelet. It came out so good. I hope you guys enjoyed today's craft. It's so cool. I love it. You guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see ya next time with a new craft.